Good afternoon, YouTube. I am the Stormlord with Lush Gaming. Thank you very much for checking out this video, and I hope it's helpful for you guys. This video, we're going to be talking about how to get your flight setup to work with Ace Combat 7, because when it was released, it only works with one flight controller, which is really stupid. But I was really disappointed when I waited 3 months for this game to come out. I opened it just the other day. I was going to play it. I was going to do a stream on it, and you find out that your controller doesn't even work for the game, so it was a pretty big letdown. But I did a little bit of research. There wasn't much on YouTube, so that's why I'm making this video and trying to help you guys out, for any of you guys who want to be able to use your flight stick if you don't have the one flight stick that works with the goddamn game. But I was going through the community on the discussion boards, and I found this useful bit of information: how to use any HOTAS joystick for Ace Combat 7, most versatile solution. So Antares basically put this post up 18 hours ago that explains on what you can do to get your flight sticks to work, and it's almost a step-by-step thing. It's basically step-by-step on what you need to do. So the very first thing, you need to download UCR, which is UCR stands for the Universal Control Remapping Program. You just click it, UCR v.7.0 zip, download that, and then when you download it, it'll pop up in your downloads, just, wherever it is, right click extract, send it to your file, open it, and then just launch it right through here. And you double click on that and the program will launch, and I'm going to exit out of this now. But so it'll launch, and I already got a couple made, so I'll talk about this here in just a second. Before we dive into this, we're going to talk about the ViGEm driver. So you'll click on this link, and this is where I thought it was a little confusing. I ended up getting a little help from the developers of this to be able to get it to work on mine, and then I felt really stupid afterwards. I was downloading this Caveman edition. I was looking at this stuff. These are just prerequisites if you have Windows 7, and this is what you need to do. You need to have PowerShell, whichever Windows 10 has it. If you don't have it, here's your prerequisites on what you need for it. Right here in your search bar, just type in your PowerShell. Windows PowerShell right here. You need to run it as, come on. Okay, whatever. You need to run it as an admin. You can't run it as a regular user, so it has to be an admin. So I'm gonna just bring this up on the side and keep this over here. And what you're gonna do is you're just gonna right click, copy, paste it right in there, hit enter, and you're just going to do this with every single one. So right here it's saying that I'm not an administrator. This is why you have to run it as an administrator, and then you'll type this in here, you'll hit enter. It's probably going to yell at me again because I'm not an administrator, or the first part didn't get initialized. But what it's going to do is, so first update the package provider, so you do this, then add the repository, whatever, did that. Now install the ViGEm management module. Install this. Your computer is going to do a little bit. It's going to do some thinking. Some numbers are going to cross across this. At the end of it, it should say success or something like that. Finally, you need to set up the virtual gamepad emulator. So you just copy and paste this right into here, hit enter, let it do its thing, and then do this one more time with this one. And if you don't get any errors back, you'll get the installation success, and this little thing will pop up right here, and it'll basically be word for word. Maybe the driver version will be a little different, but this will be basically word for word. And once this is downloaded, then you're good to go. So I'm just going to close out of this. So here's the first thing you need to do. You open up your UCR, and I'm just going to pull this to the side. We'll keep this open here. So this is UCR. As for the UCR, unpack it. So I already talked about that. We already talked about launching it. Now here's the good part. We're going to click on, in UCR, select the tab Devices, Manage Device Group. Click on Manage. Alright, so then this one pops up. And here's our step. In the Inputs group, tap on the top right corner, Add a group. So, tutorial. This is our tutorial, and here you're going to find our Here we're going to find our controller, which is the T16000, add it, and our T16000 throttle, and we'll add it. So that's what I did here with TM. You're going to do the same thing with the outputs, you know, just name it, and then you don't want to select your controller, you want to select the ViGEm Xbox 360 controller 1, add that over. Once you get this added, you're going to be done. So we'll go back to our steps. So we just did step 4, go to outputs, select Xbox One controller, step 5 is done. Now go back to the main UCR window and click on the tab profile. So we'll click on profile, and it's going to tell us that, and then new. Give it a name, whatever you want. So let's see, new. Here's our tutorial. Pull this over. So this is what's going to pop up. You're going to want to select whichever one you want. So I'm just going to use tort and none for right now. Just bear with me. So we'll just do, alright, so TMM, TMM out, input and output. Those were the two that we created. Those are the two that we're going to use for our profile. Select OK. So give it a name, whatever. Double click on the profile and listed on the editing window. Click on the profile tab on the top left and manage devices groups. Here select the inputs and outputs as created earlier. Now start adding buttons axes for each button on the HOTAS and name them appropriately so you know what is what. Once all the buttons can be assigned, once you have all of your buttons, you can start assigning them one by one to the Xbox controller settings. So this is basically, I'll work our way through this spot in just a second. I'm sorry if I'm being a little difficult here. This is, well, before we get into all of this, I'll just show you. So here's our tutorial. We're going to open it, and this is what's going to pop up. So we are going to want to have, let's see. Alright. So these are all the buttons from the Xbox 360 controller that we're going to need to map onto our flight sticks. So the very first one, machine gun, you're going to name it, hit add. On here, since it's a button, machine gun, make your index trigger finger. So we're going to do button to button for our current plugin. We're going to add this to our machine gun mapping that we just put in there. We're going to make sure, well, here I need to deactivate this. Alright. We're going to make sure that we're selected on the flight controller, and the button that the Xbox controller uses is A. So we're going to click on, we're going to select A for the button for the Xbox 360 controller, and then under the T16000 controller, we're going to click bind, and we're just going to click our button that we want, whatever button you want to use. So you're going to add all of your different things. So the very next one is missiles. Add missile is a button to button. We're going to add the plugin, and the button for missiles on the controller is B, and the button that I'm going to use is this top one, which happens to be button 3 on the flight stick. So let's get into the flying dynamics, because this is all button. This is all going to be the same for machine guns, weapon selecting, target, your D-pad. Those are all going to be buttons that you're just going to do exactly like this. But why don't we get into the acceleration? So acceleration. We're going to add acceleration. Now this one, it says right down here that the deceleration, acceleration, using access splitter, which is this one right here. These are all the different choices you can use for plugins. It explains what they're all used for, and he tells you for the most part which ones to use it for. If you guys have any questions, go ahead, leave a comment. If there's something that you don't understand that I'm saying, just leave a comment and I'll try and answer it as fastly as I can. But we're going to use the access splitter map to use on our throttle. So axis splitter, make sure that we're under acceleration, and add. So our high on our axis is going to be our right trigger, and our axis low, which is going to be our deceleration, is going to be our left trigger. And now to click bind, I'm just going to, oh, see, this is where I made a mistake. So since this just did its whole thing, my this program likes to be a little fidgety. So sometimes you're going to run into this issue where it completely freezes up and it's not going to allow you to do anything. Just find your tab, hit the exit button on that, and this will pop up and ask you if you want to save anything before closing. Just hit yes, and then close everything else. And if it doesn't like to close, like it just did with me, just open your task manager and close it. It'll say suspended, and it'll eventually close out. So there it closes, and then after it closes, just go ahead, relaunch it, and all your work will still be there as long as you hit save. So we'll go back into our tutorial, and we want to, this is where I had that issue. You want to make sure you're under your throttle. Click to bind, and then I just move this up and down, which is the access Z on your throttle. And for steering, your flight stick, this is going to be on your left stick, y-axis, and pitch roll. This is going to be an axis to axis, which is what he recommends using for steering. So we're going to add that, and this is your x-axis. The x-axis is going to be your left stick X, and your axis will be left stick Y. So under here, when we bind it, our x-axis, which it might crash again, it's going to crash again. So back to here. So you just want to move it on your X, make sure on that one, set it for your Y, and you're just going to do this for everything. And this is what I have so far. So I have my machine gun, which is button 1, button A on the Xbox controller. It's a button to button. Fire missile is a button to button. It's B on the controller, button 2 on my joystick. Change weapons, button 3 on my joystick, button to button, X for the controller. Selecting targets is Y, and then you just select that for whatever you want. D-pad up is D-pad up on the controller, and it is up on my joystick on my flight stick. Same thing for left, right, and down. I have my down all the way at the bottom because I just recently added it, realized that it wasn't working. And now our yaw left. So I had this. This is not yaw left, not yaw right. So if you have both of them, just get rid of it. Or we're going to just have one, and I have it named yaw left, but it's going to be left and right. So we're going to change this for our button. We're going to use right bumper and left bumper. Dead zone should be, we'll try 30 for now, but it might have to get changed to 0. And we'll do this, and axis rotation Z. So I just twisted my controller there, which is what I want to use for my yaw. And so when you use your button low, it should be left and right, and it should correspond to whichever direction you're doing in here based on the high and low. And the dead zone should be 30, which should be centered, and if it's not, input 0. We'll go into a game after this and figure it out. Change view is button 7. It's a button to button. It is the right stick on the controller. The flares is a tricky one. It's left and right, so you need to have 2 button to buttons for this one. This is our steering. It's axis to axis, using axis left X, axis left right. And this is my X and Y axis on my controller. The back button I have selected to 2. It's just a button to button, same with start. And then our acceleration is an axis splitter, again the Z axis on your throttle, and you're going to use axis right trigger and axis left trigger. And then this is my D-pad bottom. Now I was having issues with the camera view, and I figured that the camera view wasn't too big of an issue, so I just ignored it. And we'll see if that yaw, I was having an issue with the yaw before, so we'll see if the yaw is fixed now that we did left and right, and we didn't have, or I should say since we did the right bumper and left bumper versus just doing a yaw left and a yaw right. So once you get everything in here that you need, you can just exit out of it. You want to make sure that you file save the information, and then if everything was installed correctly on the last step with your ViGEm driver, just right click on it, activate it. You're going to hear the plugin activate, and then you're good to go. So we'll launch Ace Combat now, and we'll see how well that this throttle works. works now that we manually programmed it to be compatible with this game. And again, guys, I'm sorry if I'm a little hard to follow if I'm talking. I've spent a long day. I've been doing a lot of talking today, a lot of schoolwork up here at the university, so my head's a little fried. So if you guys have any questions or anything, you know, drop a comment. I know that the UCR has a Discord page that they're usually on, so if you need extra help on something, they can probably figure out why something's not working. But a very good step to figure out if your controller is working right away. If you did it right, you should be able to pull down to work. Trigger works. We're just going to hit continue.
All sign is Mage 2. Verify and feedback. Mage 2, clear for takeoff. Situation is tight.
Down.
It's a hell of a welcoming party.
Right.
We have faith in you. Good luck.
Our yaw works.
Control.
Yaw works
Do me a
that way.
favor and get that
I want to make sure that I'm set up under the right. Alright, cool. Expert.
bird in the air ASAP.
Hear
And
that? Column Squadron and your wingmen are airborne. Take off and form up
wheel
with
on this
Mage
side, I
1.
don't have anything programmed to that, so I guess later on if there was something I wanted to add
Damage
on,
report. Where are we getting hit?
Mage 2 scramble.
And-
Take off now.
Is it only bombers? Give us some intel.
there we go. Throttle all the way up.
They're bombing the harbor.
And
Scramble
we'll start
interceptors.
pulling back.
Mage 2 altitude restriction is
Look
lifted.
at that.
Good luck.
The flight stick that once was not compatible is now compatible.
Looks like the harbor's taking a lot of damage.
And again, you can
Get
set
them
this up however you
casualties.
want. So if
Time
you
to
want your
stop the
fire button
bullshit.
to be one of these things down here, you go for it. But you know,
Mage 2, form up with
so
Mage
switch
1.
your weapons.
All aircraft, let's do this. Golem Squadron, it's go time.
Roger
you
that.
can
Go
find
for
our target with the
understood.
other button. This middle thumb button, I can
This is the AWACS
fire
Skykeeper.
my missiles.
Take down all unidentified bombers. They don't have many escorts. They hit our radars hard in the last attack. Expect the worst and stay sharp.
Alright, so I got my
We'll
yaw
go.
working.
Trigger, I'm your wingman. You're flying with me now.
So here we
That's
got
what
a
it
little
means to
issue.
be in an
So
element.
if you notice, I'm turning
You gotta
left and
keep
my
an eye
yaw
out for
goes
enemy
right.
bombers.
So what we're gonna do,
Okay,
what
here
we'll
we
do is we'll just get out of here. We'll reopen up our yaw or our thruster. We're gonna deactivate it, and this is what I had to do with my axis too. This was my y-axis. I had to invert my x because when I would turn left, it would go right. So I'm thinking that this is the same thing that happened. I'm just going to invert this and exit out. I'm going to save it. And then we're going to activate it, and it should be good. Get back into the game.
go. Looks like bombers have been located.
And so I might have to
Showtime, Trigger.
restart this since I deactivated it. But that should have corrected the issue. We'll get back in here one more time.
Let's see if you can handle the spotlight.
But yeah, guys, that's all you have to do to program this controller to whatever game you want, I guess. But in this instance, Ace Combat 7. So I'm just gonna make sure that this is activated, and we'll launch this game again since we deactivated it. It probably lost the signal to it. But yeah, guys, like I said, if you have any questions, go ahead, leave a comment in there, and I'll try my best to get an answer to you as quickly as possible. Oh, and you see, so I did something. Alright, so Thrustmaster active profile, launch Ace Combat. skip through this. Again, sorry that it's taken so long to see if this is working or not, but
Is everyone here?
so I'll skip through all this, start the mission.
Mage Squadron, aircraft preparations complete. Stand by at the front.
Radar site's still silent. Scramble.
Trigger, your call sign is Mage 2. Verify and read back. Mage 2, clear for takeoff. Situation's tight. It's a hell of a welcoming party, but we have faith in you. Good luck.
Control, do me a favor and get that bird in the air ASAP.
Hear that? Column Squadron and your wingmen are airborne. Take off and form up with Mage 1.
Go right, goes right.
Mage 2, altitude restriction is lifted. Good luck.
Left is left, right's right, down is up, down is down.
Looks like the harbor's taken a lot of damage.
Up is up,
Can't have any more casualties. Time to stop the bullshit.
Map works. Switch my weapon.
Mage 2, form up with Mage 1. All aircraft, let's do this. Golem Squadron, it's go time.
Roger that.
Going for understood.
Flares work.
This is the
Backwards,
AWAC
start works.
Skykeeper.
So yeah, guys, that's how
Take
you,
down all unidentified bombers.
that's
They
how
don't
you
have
get
many
this thing to
escorts.
work.
They hit our
It
radars
looks a little
hard in the last
difficult, but
attack.
it's really
Expect the
not
worst
too bad.
and stay sharp.
We'll go.
It took me maybe an hour of tinkering
Trigger,
around to get
I'm
it
your
all
wingman.
figured out. But hopefully
Fly
this
with me
video,
now.
as long
That's
as
what
I
it
was
means to be in an
super
element.
easy, you can get this done in 20 minutes.
You gotta keep an eye out for enemy bombers.
Like I said, guys, if you get any questions, go ahead, drop a comment. I'll try my best to answer.